After 5 years of dating, I finally realized my boyfriend could not let go of his ex. He sent her a 520 New Year red envelope. He wrote long heartfelt essays begging to get back together. He even used a burner account to tell everyone about their love. I was pushed into depression and he still accused me of being dramatic. Later I became his ex too. And then he got cancer with little time left and cried asking me to go see him. I smiled and advised him, "Do you not always like reminiscing about your exes? Since you are so devoted, just take it as going to die for love ahead of time." The day I learned I had depression was the 7th day of my Cold War with Hikai. I went home in a daze and sat blankly on the couch at a loss. Even though things had been unpleasant between Hikai and me these days, at a moment like this I still sent him a message. "Hikai, come home early, okay? I have something I want to talk to you about." As soon as I sent it, the chat showed that he was typing, but I waited a long time and he never replied. At 9 in the evening Hikai finally came back. I was squatting on the floor curled up hugging myself and crying. When I heard the door open I lifted my head. Through blurry tears I watched Hikai calmly change his shoes and hang up his coat. The entire time he did not look at me once, as if I were invisible. "Hikai," I called out softly. His movement while drinking water did not pause at all, as if he had not heard me. "Hikai." I raised my voice and called again with a heavy nasal tone. Hikai suddenly clicked his tongue, slammed the cup down and said impatiently, "Do you know how loud you are?" I froze. The words about the depression diagnosis stuck in my throat. "I am tired, going to sleep first." Hikai did not spare me a glance and strode straight into the bedroom, but he came out again shortly after. His brows were tightly knit as he wiped his fingers hard with a wet wipe as if he had touched something disgusting. "You got the sheets dirty and did not know to change them. I am going to sleep in the guest room." I was stunned for a long time before realizing it must have been my period leaking last night, and I rushed to the hospital in the morning without noticing. Was he really that disgusted? Before long, short video sounds came from the guest room mixed with Hikai occasionally chuckling when amused. I listened quietly and a wave of bleakness rose in my heart. I did not understand. Why had the man who once crossed half the city to buy brown sugar ginger tea and promised to dote on me for life become so cold? This was my 5th year with Hikai and our 2nd year living together after graduation. During 4 years of college we were long distance, and back then he was the model boyfriend. He replied instantly, reported wherever he went, and video called me whenever he had time. We even slept with our mics connected at night. Even though we studied in different cities, he always had endless things to say to me. We had conflicts too, but no matter how angry he was, he never raised his voice at me. Slowly people around us changed partners again and again while we were still like newlyweds. Everyone said we were a model couple, and I also believed we would always be fine. In my vision of the future it was always marrying Hikai, having children, building a family and growing old together. But at some point Hikai changed. He no longer replied instantly, was no longer eager to please me, and had much less to say. He said, "Baby, I need to get busy. Baby, I have a meeting. Baby, my boss is calling. You decide. I am going to sleep." Okay. Working late. 4 years of long distance, we were sincere and passionate. On the few days we could meet we wished we could melt into each other. But once the long distance ended and we shared the same space, he was so stingy he did not even want to give me a glance. The doctor said it was because of long-term emotional insecurity that I developed depression. I sat in silence for a long time. In the quiet room 5 years of memories flashed through my mind like a movie. I did not understand. I really did not understand. Even when the law sentences someone, it lists the charges. Why was Hikai so hot and cold? What was the reason? The night grew deeper and faint snoring came from the guest room. I quietly went into the guest room and took Hikai's phone. It unlocked easily with my fingerprint. Hikai's phone was never guarded against me. Before I never bothered to check because I believed a man who wanted to cheat could not be watched closely enough. But now I suddenly wanted to know why Hikai had become like this. His chat history seemed untouched. I checked carefully and found nothing abnormal and no suspicious flirty contacts. Until I searched keywords and one chat with his buddy stabbed my eyes. "You do not know how dramatic Song Anon is. If Chin Yiyao could come back I would definitely choose her." The timestamp showed 3 years ago, when we were at our most in love, and Chin Yiyao was his ex-girlfriend. In an instant it felt like all the blood in my body froze, as if icy water had been poured over me from head to toe, leaving me numb and cold. I nearly broke down as I rushed into the guest room and dragged the sleeping Hikai out of bed. I shoved that chat record in front of him. "Hikai, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. That was when I thought our relationship was at its best. I told everyone I had found my soulmate and my male lead. Back then just thinking of you made me so happy. I felt like floating. I thought the world was beautiful. Even the grass by the road looked cute. But while I was joyfully imagining our future you were reminiscing about your ex." Hikai froze when he saw the message on the screen. He stayed silent for a long while, then frowned at me and said, Song Anon, you said it yourself, it was 3 years ago. Does it make sense to argue about something from 3 years ago now? What are you making a fuss about? As he spoke, heavy impatience filled his eyes. I stared at him and suddenly understood. A memory flashed of him gently wiping my tears and saying if I cried it must be his fault. At that moment I clearly realized. The man in front of me was no longer the Hikai I once loved. I asked Hikai to break up. Then I started rummaging around to pack my things. Hikai watched silently without making a move, until I dragged my suitcase to the door. His voice suddenly came from behind. Song Anon, I remember when we first started dating you were very gentle. How did you become like this? When he said that, his tone was genuinely puzzled, as if the current me was unbearably awful. A tear rolled out of my eye. I could not hold it anymore. I walked over without a word, raised my hand and slapped him hard. I used a lot of force and his face instantly turned red. He looked at me in disbelief, his eyes dark and heavy. I laughed. Hikai, you men are really something. You drive women crazy, then calmly watch them go crazy and finally stand on moral high ground, accusing them of being emotionally unstable like lunatics. Who could be more shameless than you? Leaving those words behind, I opened the door and walked into the night without looking back. It was late autumn and the wind was strong late at night, blowing away the last bit of warmth from my body. The wind howled. In the bone-chilling cold, I recalled the scene from 3 years ago when Hikai said he would choose his ex. That was sophomore year when Hikai and I traveled to Weihai. To save taxi money, he wanted to take a shortcut to the shore and swore it would be faster than driving. It had just rained and the path was slippery and we fell several times. That was bad enough, but right when we were only a few steps from the shore, a cliff blocked our way. We were dirty, sore and exhausted. After all that effort, we still could not get down. I could not hold it anymore and threw a little tantrum. Hikai tried to hug me to comfort me. I cried while struggling to push him away. Every time he tried to hug me, I pushed him away. After several times, Hikai suddenly stopped moving. When I turned to look at him, his face was already covered in tears. Even so, he leaned over, carefully blowing on my wound. I froze and asked if my tantrum had made him cry. With red eyes, he told me, "No, Anon, when you cry I feel like my heart is breaking. I feel so awful for not planning better and hurting you just to save a few dollars. I am sorry, I am not a qualified boyfriend." Instantly all my anger disappeared and my heart ached for him. That day we did not make it to the shore, but we embraced and watched the most beautiful sunset of my life by the sea. That memory was always vivid in my mind. Countless times I felt joy because of his guilt and his tears. I thought he loved me to the core. That was why he was so sincere. But it was also that very night that he complained to his buddy, typing word by word. You do not know how dramatic Song Anon is. If Chin Yiyao could come back, I would definitely choose her. I checked into a hotel. I lay in the bathtub, and even though my whole body was wrapped in hot water, I still felt unbearably cold. I could not sleep all night and finally opened Hikai's social media, masochistically searching for traces of Chin Yiyao. I scrolled through hundreds of accounts he followed, comparing IP addresses and content. I did not find Chin Yiyao account, but unexpectedly discovered Hikai burner account. With trembling hands I clicked in. August 1st, 2020. I still like you, but I have no chance, so I have to be with someone else. Is it not said that a new love heals fastest? That day Hikai kissed me under the influence of alcohol and carefully asked if we could be together. There was sadness in his eyes I could not understand. Turns out I was just a healing tool. February 11th, 2021. Using New Year money as an excuse, I sent you a 520 red envelope. It is the new year and I am a year older, but 22-year-old Hikai still seems to really love Chin Yiyao. That day was Lunar New Year's Eve, our first New Year together. We exchanged greetings over the phone. Hikai sent me a 1314 New Year envelope. He said shyly, "Baby, I am a bit broke lately. I will make it up to you big next year." I foolishly laughed and said I was young and a little New Year money was enough to keep me safe. Not knowing it was not that he lacked money, but that he had already given most of his love to someone else. January 9th, 2022. Chin Yiyao, if it were you with me right now, that would be great. Do you know, if you came back I would run to you without hesitation. That day Hikai lost an important competition and was in a bad mood. I stayed with him by the river all afternoon in the wind. I acted silly and did everything to cheer him up. Finally he smiled. With red eyes he hugged me and said, "Thank you, baby, for being with me." Turns out his tears were not from being touched, but from regretting that the one with him was not her. August 6th, 2022. Song Anon asked me today if we would still be together in the next life. I smiled and did not answer. I remember, Yao Yao, I already promised my next life to you. I could not keep reading. I bent over, nauseous and wretched. So it turns out that over these 5 years I lost completely in countless comparisons I never even knew existed. So many nights when we held each other he was not happy because he was holding me, but was mourning that the person in his arms was not the one he longed for. My heart felt like it was being clenched tightly by something and I could not breathe. My fingers gripped the bedsheets and my whole body trembled uncontrollably. I know that sincerity can change in an instant and that feelings are not eternal. But what I cannot tolerate is this. The 5 years and sincerity I was so proud of were nothing more than me being fooled like an idiot. 5 years, 5 years. I felt like a complete joke. I would rather Hikai had actually cheated. I do not know when I cried myself to sleep. I had a dream. In the dream Hikai and I stood by the sea. The afterglow of the sunset spread across the surface of the water. I stood on tiptoe and gently kissed his lips. The touch of his lips was warm and soft. I blushed deeply and my breathing grew rapid. I was overwhelmed with happiness. But in an unseen corner, Hee-Jiao wore a look of disdain. He said, "Song Anan is not good, kissing Qin Yiyao feels better." I jolted awake. My face was wet and the pillow was soaked too. The sadness from the dream still lingered. I covered my chest and felt so empty, so empty. Trembling I took the medicine the doctor prescribed and only after breathing deeply for a long time did I slowly calm down. Noticing cramps in my lower abdomen I picked up my phone planning to order some ginger soup and buy painkillers. At that moment my phone received a WeChat message. It was from Hikai. "Song Anan using tricks like this to win me back, do you not think it is childish?" Below was a photo of the depression diagnosis sheet taken on the cabinet at home. I must have forgotten to take it when I was packing earlier. I froze for 2 seconds then replied, "Hikai, you really disgust me." Then I blocked him cleanly. When I woke up the next day my head still ached dully. I wanted to ask for leave but my money-obsessed boss refused. Finally making it to lunchtime a coworker dragged me downstairs to eat. As soon as the elevator doors opened I saw that familiar unlucky figure. Hikai. We worked in the same office building. That alone was nothing but he happened to be standing with a woman at that moment. The elevator was crowded. Maybe afraid someone would bump into her he half shielded her in a protective posture. My coworker did not see him and pulled me into the elevator. My back ended up facing Hikai. The elevator doors slowly closed. I felt the gaze on my back and forced myself to stay calm. Until we were about to get off, I heard a girl behind me softly ask the person with her, "Yiyao, shall we go eat beef soup downstairs? It tastes pretty good." Yiyao. Qin Yiyao. My whole body stiffened and my mind exploded. In that instant countless thoughts surged up. So Qin Yiyao and Hikai worked at the same company. And I worked in the same building seeing him every day yet knew nothing about this. Baby, I am having dinner with coworkers. Baby, I am rushing a project with coworkers. Baby, my coworker is moving, I am helping him, I will be back later. Song Anan is so dramatic, if Qin Yiyao comes back I will definitely choose her. I did not dare think any further. Disgusting, so disgusting. When the elevator doors opened I hurried out. Lunch tasted like nothing. Thoughts churned endlessly in my head. I could not hold it anymore and ended up throwing up. Seeing how pale I was my boss did not dare refuse my leave again. I wandered the streets alone with no destination. The weather was beautiful today, bright sunshine and gentle breezes. But my world was pouring with rain. A few children passed by laughing and playing their voices pulling me out of my own world. I looked up. In the distance an old woman fanned herself with a palm fan warmly calling out to sell rice cakes. 2 young girls on the road linked arms giggling and whispering. A little girl with braids hopped along holding a balloon. Everyone was living their lives well. What about me? Song Anan, how far are you going to sink over a man? Is having depression not enough? Do you want to throw away the rest of your life too? My mind gradually cleared. Now that things had come to this, what I needed to do was make that scumbag completely disappear from my world. 5 years only. I Song Anan give them to him. I took out my phone and first booked a gynecological checkup for tomorrow. Then through an agent I rented a small 1-bedroom apartment. While Hikai was at work I even called some movers to help me move. Everything was done cleanly and decisively. In no time the once warm and crowded home became empty. I took one last look. Scenes from our 2 years of living together flashed before my eyes. On the sofa by the dining table in the kitchen. It seemed every corner once held the sound of Hikai and me laughing and chasing each other. These 5 years I truly gave all my sincerity and passion. I once happily believed I had found a life partner to grow old with. But in the end, my 5 years of joy is 5 years of detachment. All of it was misplaced. Miss Song, are you finished moving? We should go. The worker's words pulled me back to reality. I said okay, closed the door and completely closed off those 5 years of time. Wait. My steps toward the elevator stopped. Wait for me. I turned back, picked up a rolling pin from the kitchen and smashed the couple photos on the table. All the gifts I bought for Hikai, notebooks, keyboard, headphones, razor, everything I smashed to pieces. After doing all this I let out a long breath. The current Hikai no longer deserved these things. Hikai came to look for me a week later. As soon as I walked out of the office building I saw him standing under a tree. After days of no contact he looked completely unaffected. As for me, even heavy makeup could not hide my exhaustion. He walked over and hooked an arm around my shoulder like usual. Had enough of making trouble. If you are done, should you not come home with me? I dodged his touch and calmly met his eyes. Hikai, we have already broken up. Stop making trouble. Anger appeared on Hikai face. I did not even hold it against you for wrecking the house like that. That chat record from 3 years ago was me being confused. I apologize. Come home with me. In a couple of days my mom is coming to Zhangcheng. I will be on a business trip and busy. You take her out for a couple days. I laughed in anger. So after all this he needed something from me. He kept rambling. You know my mom never really liked you. Take this chance to spend more time together after we get married. Hikai. I interrupted him. Let me say it again, we have broken up. Just because of that chat record from 3 years ago. Hikai face was full of disbelief. Song Anon, we have been together 5 years. How many 5 years does a lifetime have? You were breaking up over such a small thing. There were many people coming and going downstairs and quite a few glances were already directed at us. I suddenly felt exhausted and did not want to see his hypocritical face anymore. So I simply took out my phone, pulled up his burner account and shoved it in his face. Hikai, how long are you going to keep pretending? Since you cannot let her go, why not go back and find her directly? Being with me while still longing for her. Eating from one bowl while staring at another, does that give you a sense of superiority? Or am I just another part of your trashy drama? I did not hide my disgust at all. Hikai, you are really filthy. Hikai composure finally began to crumble. To avoid becoming a spectacle, he dragged me into a nearby cafe. After a long silence, he looked me seriously in the eyes and said, Anon, I never thought about breaking up with you. I could not help letting out a scoff. After breaking up with her, I barely had any contact with her. You can check if you do not believe me. He handed me his phone. I did not take it. I will delete all of this right now. Okay, even close the account. As he spoke, he started operating his phone. I watched coldly and only found it ridiculous. Is it useful? Hikai, these 5 years of dating you treated me like a fool. Do you think that was fun? Hikai body stiffened at my words, then he stood up, walked over and sat beside me. He held my shoulders and said earnestly, Anon, I admit that at first I was with you because I wanted to get over my last relationship. But the longer time passed, the more I realized what I felt for her was just obsession. It was being with you that slowly taught me what love is. And I realized you are the one most suitable for me. He leaned closer, his voice seductive. Shall we start over? Buy a house in the neighborhood you like, raise a cat just like we planned before. I looked at his familiar yet strange face and suddenly felt extremely tired. Hikai, how do you expect me to let this go? My voice gradually choked. 5 years I offered up my whole heart and thought the sweet moments were love. But they were only you settling for second best. Every kiss, every embrace carried another person's shadow. I no longer know whether on those nights we held each other you were happy to be holding me or regretting that the person in your arms was not her. Hikai face instantly turned pale. I continued, Qin Yiyao works at the same company as you, right? Hikai expression froze. He opened his mouth but could not speak immediately. I stood up looking down at him. Hikai, you are even more disgusting and hypocritical than I imagined. Do you know that? What disgusts me most is not that you still love her. It is that you clearly cannot let her go, yet you put on an act of deep devotion to deceive me. Because if you loved Qin Yiyao you would not have gotten with me right after breaking up. And if you loved me you would not have reminisced about her during our relationship. You straddled two boats acting like you cannot let either go, like you love both deeply. But in reality you love no one. You only love yourself. Maybe my words were too blunt, or maybe tearing the truth open and laying it bare was too much. Hikai opened his mouth but could not say another word for a long time. From that day on we completely tore things apart. 5 years of feelings finally came to an end, but late at night I would still feel sad. 5 years was too long enough for withdrawal to crush me, plus the depression I already had. With emotions rebounding again and again, I spent night after night unable to sleep, swallowing handfuls of pills. But I told myself again and again that I must not turn back. If someone loves me, one person for a lifetime, that is wonderful. If not, then I must give myself even more love. I began to force myself to eat on time, take my medicine on time, and talk regularly with my therapist. After work I distracted myself by making desserts. I forced myself to smile more, and gradually I actually felt a little happier. Hikai was still trying to win me back. The first week he showed up without fail every day downstairs at my office building, pretending to run into me holding tiramisu from my favorite dessert shop. I walked straight past him without looking until the 5th day, when he finally lost patience and stopped me. Anon, this place takes 2 hours to line up. I tossed the dessert into the trash right in front of him. Expired things only make you sick if you keep them. The second week he started recruiting mutual friends as mediators. My college roommate Lin Hao set up a gathering saying he wanted to introduce me to a therapist. When I pushed the door open and saw Hikai sitting in the main seat, I turned around and left. He caught up with me in the hallway, eyes red. Just give me 10 minutes. Hikai, I cut him off. Do you know what I regret most right now? Wasting 5 years before finally seeing you clearly. His expression looked like he had been stabbed straight through the chest. The most ridiculous part was one rainy night. At 3 in the morning the doorbell woke me up. On the security camera Hikai stood outside soaked to the bone clutching a wrinkled medical report. He choked outside the door. Anon the physical exam says my liver function is abnormal. The doctor said it might be long-term depression. I picked up the intercom. Then you should go find Qin Yiyao. Is she not your cure for depression? After that I cut the power directly. Through the peephole I saw him slide down into the rain. The report dissolved in the rain, the ink bleeding into a ridiculous ghost face. I did not expect Qin Yiyao to come looking for me. It was a very ordinary evening. I was sitting by the window watching the sunset, slowly eating desserts I had just baked when I received her friend request. Hello, I am Hichi's ex-girlfriend. I need to talk to you about something. I stared at the message for a long time before finally accepting. Qin Yiyao politely asked to meet in person. I thought I would get the typical scene where the vicious female side character warns the heroine to stay away from her man. Instead, her first sentence instantly won me over. Good breakup. Someone like Hikai does not deserve you. I looked at her in surprise. I thought you were here to warn me to stay away from Hikai forever. How could that be? Someone like him makes me sick just looking at him. Qin Yiyao smiled and starlight rippled at the corners of her eyes. Do you know, while he was with you he got drunk many times and called me begging to get back together and even sent me 520 holiday red packets. It was disgusting. I actually wanted to contact you a long time ago. I asked around everywhere for your contact info because I was afraid you would keep being kept in the dark by him, but I could not get it. So this time I went along with his wishes and joined his company just to get close to you and tell you the truth. Who knew you saw through him first? Either way, it is good that you broke up. I was moved by her straightforward sincerity and smiled. Seeing it clearly now is not too late, but honestly, if you had shown up earlier I could have saved 2 years of youth watching idol dramas. Qin Yiyao burst out laughing. During our conversation I told her about Hichi's burner account. She gossiped over it for a bit, then looked like she had swallowed a fly. Wow, this reads like an idol drama. He really knows how to put on a show. Anyone would think he loved deeply when actually we broke up because he cheated. That really surprised me. I could not help sighing. As expected, what he can never get is always the best. Once he has it in his hands it becomes worthless. To put it plainly, he is just cheap. This is how simple girls' friendships are. That night we trashed Hikai together for a long time. Once we got into it we even went to a bar and ordered 2 drinks to celebrate. I drank too much. So Qin Yiyao volunteered to walk me home. Unexpectedly we ran into Hikai downstairs. Hikai used to never smoke, but now he sat silently on the ground puffing away, letting grey ash fall all over his clothes. Through the smoke his face looked especially worn down. The moment he saw me he stood up nervously, eyes slightly red. Anon, it took me so much effort to find you. Then his gaze landed on Qin Yiyao standing beside me and he froze. The alcohol made my head a little hazy. Watching his hesitation I could not resist a nasty thought. With 2 exes standing in front of him, did he not know who to perform his deep love act for? Qin Yiyao clearly thought the same and laughed lightly. Did not expect to catch such a touching performance. Wow, so moving. But Hikai, your crying voice has regressed a bit compared to last breakup. The look in your eyes is not painful enough and the shaking of your hands is unnatural. Want me to lend you some eye drops for assistance? His face slowly turned the color of liver. Right then my stomach churned violently. I took 2 steps forward and threw up all over Hikai. I waved my hand hypocritically. Sorry, I drank too much. Seeing dirty things makes me nauseous. Hichi's face went completely dark. Just like that, the deep love performance died an early death. To stop Hikai from harassing me again, I simply called his mother. I clearly told her about the low things her pride and joy had done in relationships and ended by sending my depression diagnosis. Maybe out of womanly empathy she stayed silent for a long time. The woman who was always so arrogant in front of me lowered her head for the first time. She said she was sorry that she failed to raise her son well. My throat suddenly tightened. Hikai, look. You hurt far more than just me. After that my world finally became peaceful. After that day Qin Yiyao and I became good friends. She was straightforward, generous, and with a common enemy we got along very well. She had some money, so she was not in a hurry to work and instead wanted to start a business. The direction became the problem. But after tasting the desserts I made myself, she immediately had an idea. Anon, let's open a dessert shop. I put up the money, you handle the craft. We hit it off instantly. Qin Yiyao moved fast and within a week took over a closed cafe in the city center. She had a sharp business mind and built plenty of buzz through social media before opening. I put all the baking skills I developed during my depression to use. The new shop was soon established. On the first day of soft opening the line stretched across the street. White-collar workers came to check in for the heartbreak healing gimmick. Influencer bloggers promoted it voluntarily. This shop owner really turned her trash ex into desserts. They were talking about our signature ex-lover milk crepe, crispy and flaky layer by layer. 3 months later, revenue broke 1 million and expansion plans were put on the table. As the numbers in my bank account grew and my days became fuller, the doctor crossed out moderate on my depression follow-up report and changed it to clinically cured. The last time I saw Hikai was at our dessert shop's anniversary. He stood outside the glass for a long time while I was piping the final cream rose onto our new phoenix cake. When our eyes met through the glass, I calmly pulled down the blinds. The staff asked if they should ask that gentleman to leave. I shook my head. Strangers are not worth emotional energy. Later, Qin Yiyao found an unsigned card at the register with a line from Pablo Neruda. Love is so short, forgetting is so long. When we threw it into the trash, the shop speakers happened to play. And now it's time to leave, you're dead to me. Customers kept coming non-stop. I looked at my reflection in the glass case. The eyes, once swollen from crying, now held confident light. The hand holding the piping bag was steady as if it had never trembled for anyone. I smiled and sighed. Hikai probably never imagined that the depression and humiliation he gave me would become my wealth code. And because of him, I was able to meet the benefactor of my life and achieve financial freedom together. At that moment, Qin Yiyao was greeting customers and freed one hand to make a gesture at me. I understood her meaning and smiled. Yes, our lives were always meant to be like this. Not someone's replacement, not someone's accessory, but the undeniable protagonist of our own story. Epilogue. At 11 late at night, my phone suddenly lit up. It was an unfamiliar number. I was flipping through the account books and casually answered. Hello. I turned on speaker and casually started recording. From the other end came heavy panting like someone who had just finished a marathon. Anon. The voice was abnormally hoarse. I have liver cancer, the doctor said, at most 3 months. It was Hichi's voice. Beside me, Qin Yiyao suddenly laughed and pushed the freshly baked scumbag lava cake toward me. I scooped a spoonful and the chocolate sauce flowed out like blood. What a coincidence, I said into the phone. I just had a checkup last week. The doctor said my liver function is good enough to donate half a liver. I know you hate me. His choking voice carried that familiar performative tone. But can you come see me? Just pity a dog that's about to die. I slowly licked the chocolate off the fork, then smiled and advised him. Don't you always like reminiscing about exes? You're so deeply devoted, just treat it as going early to die for love. Beep beep beep. The call disconnected. Qin Yiyao and I exchanged a knowing smile. How nice. Evil people meet their own retribution.